Good afternoon, Your Honour. I appear on behalf of the defendant here today. As you are aware from my learned friend that there are two defendants here in this case. However, I only appear on behalf of one of those, being Colin Hammond. Your Honour, the defence seeks a bail application here today, which the Magistrates Court has previously withheld. Your Honour, the reason for this application is because there have been two important developments that have occurred since the decision in the Manchester Magistrates Court on the 6th of August 2022 to remand the defendant in custody. Your Honour, would it please the court if I provided a brief summary of the facts? Okay, Your Honour, I will just move on with the two important developments as I have mentioned, and I will turn to the first one of those. Your Honour, a witness named Dean Fuller is able to offer the defendant employment and an address out of the Manchester area that has just recently come to light, Your Honour. Dean has explained in his statement that he has known the defendant all his life and has always been a friend of the family. Dean has also stated that he is aware of the defendant's previous convictions and the defendant, with the defendant's permission in that, Your Honour, and the defendant has actually worked for Dean on a number of occasions in the past. Dean trusts the defendant and has stated that he is a hard worker. Dean has stated he has a big contract going on in the Preston Royal Hospital for the next 6 months involving scaffolding and other manual labours. As part of that work, Dean has stated that he is staying in rented accommodation outside of the Manchester area. I believe it is in the northern outskirts of Preston, Your Honour. The working hours would be from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m, which also means that the defendant would have no reason to return back to Manchester. Your Honour, Dean has also been spoken to by a police officer and his statement has been confirmed. Your Honour, in the Magistrates Court, the police liaison officer was not able to speak to Dean to verify this statement because he was out of signal range, Your Honour. The magistrates have said that they regard this as an important matter, and if the matter had stayed there, they would regard him as verifying this statement as a change of circumstances. Your Honour, I will now move to the second development that has recently come to light. Your Honour, a witness named Wayne Morris has also come forward and offered a £5,000 substantial surety, which was not previously before the Magistrates Court. Wayne has known the defendant since he was a child and also has been a very well-known family friend and has a great relationship with the defendant's father and sees him quite regularly throughout the week. Wayne has great confidence and trust in the defendant and that if he needed to contact him or any of his family members, Your Honour, he has stated that he has that much trust and confidence in them that he feels he would be able to contact them, and also states that he knows that the defendant would not let him down by turning up to court and complying with any bail conditions. Your Honour, Wayne has been in contact with the defendant as one of his first phone calls from prison, and he has been assured that the defendant understands the seriousness of this and the confidence that Wayne is placing into the defendant. Your Honour, Wayne is also aware of the defendant's previous convictions, again with the defendant's permission on those and his consent. Your Honour, I would now like to move towards addressing the three objections that the prosecution have raised. And if it pleases the court, may I address those? Thank you, Your Honour. So the first one being failing to surrender. Your Honour, the safeguard of the surety of £5,000 from Wayne Morris and the surety in the form of an address and employment by Dean Fuller to be out of the Manchester area comprehensively deals with the issue of failing to surrender, Your Honour. And if there are any doubts that the Crown may have in respect of this, these are more than mitigated by both statements confirming these sureties. Your Honour, the Wayne Morris and Dean Fuller are both family friends of the defendant and his family, as previously mentioned, and there is every reason to believe that the defendant will honour any grant of bail. Your Honour, I would now like to move on to address the second objection raised by the prosecution, being committing further offences that they have raised. The defendant has two relatively minor offences on bail, Your Honour, and the present allegation is of a different magnitude, and the facts of the case concerns a night out. These circumstances are unique and unlikely to repeat while the defendant is working in the Preston area, and considering the hours of work also that the defendant will be working. The court can have every confidence, Your Honour, that the defendant will be working full and long hours, has no reason to return back to Manchester, has no reason to be committing further offences, Your Honour, and he's unlikely to see any alleged victim or anyone associated with this case, Your Honour, as also previously mentioned. Your Honour, I would now like to move to the third objection that the prosecution has raised, and that being interfering with witnesses. Your Honour, it is submitted that this ground is simply not made out based on the evidence. The defendant has never interfered with witnesses, and neither is there any evidence whatsoever to show that he will interfere with any witnesses. And considering, as mentioned, Your Honour, his working hours and working outside of the Manchester area, and actually having an address that he will reside in, being his home whilst on bail. Again, it is outside of the Manchester area, so there's no way that he can interfere with any witnesses or any reason to, Your Honour, during bail. So the Crown are respectfully invited to consider whether this is a reasonable ground to pursue. Your Honour, if the defendant is granted bail, the defence also proposes a combination of the following conditions so far as the court sees appropriate, judges appropriate, in order to meet the Crown's fears in respect of bail, Your Honour. So the first one being residence at an address to be confirmed by Dean Fuller, and such address is to be verified by the police as a condition precedent to release on bail. Your Honour, the second proposal that the defence are willing to comply with is Your Honour, my apologies, doorstep condition. So the defendant is to present himself at the doorstep to any police officer whilst on bail outside of his working hours at the address that is yet to be confirmed by Dean Fuller. Your Honour, the third condition that the defence are proposing is for the defendant not to enter Greater Manchester unless it is for a court hearing or to attend a meeting with his instructing solicitors, Your Honour, and he would have to carry written proof with him that he has had a meeting or appointment with his solicitors on a headed letter paper from his solicitors, Your Honour. Your Honour, the fourth condition that the defence are willing to propose is for an electronically monitored curfew between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 p.m. Your Honour, the reason why being these hours is because He starts work at 5 a.m. in the morning, as previously mentioned, and finishes at 6 p.m, give and take time to get home and as such. Your Honour, the fifth condition that the defence are proposing is for the defendant not to contact any witnesses indirectly or directly whilst on bail. Your Honour, if there are no further questions, and in light of the above, the defence respectfully submits that the defendant is granted bail. Thank you, Your Honour.